welcome everyone to a Thursday breakfast show where, of course, I am joined by Claire in the studio. And on what is it? Every month we do this?
Yeah, like once a month, or when we've got a space. If there's nothing like astrologically going on, then I prefer to do like a psychic, medium-y type thing instead, which is my job.
Exactly. So, yeah, Claire is a psychic medium. I suppose a good way to start this off would be explaining exactly what you do for anyone that may not know.
Yeah, so I'm a psychic medium, tarot reader, mix it all together. That's my full-time job is doing that, like seeing clients one-to-one. Prediction, like future events, messages from spirits, like all of that.
So on our mystical chats, we basically just sit down, chat about some interesting stuff. I get your opinions on it, your thoughts, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing these segments. Normally I come in and I don't really have anything planned on what I'm going to talk about. Yeah. But today I've actually got something which I thought when we started doing this would be one thing which I really wanted to speak to you about, but I was going to save it until we did have the cameras that we've got today. This is one which I think will be really interesting to speak about. So I obviously just asked you if you've watched Last Kingdom before, which, like you said, you're obsessed with.
Yes.
Such a good series.
I know, it's like one of my favourites ever. Yeah. I
love how fast-paced it is as well.
I know, yeah.
Like going from, I was watching Better Call Saul before I was watching this.
Oh, that's like nothing in comparison to that.
It's so slow.
I know,
That series in comparison, you wait all season for like one event to happen. Yeah. Last Kingdom, it's like 10 events happening in one episode.
Yeah, I could do like a whole podcast on the Last Kingdom if you want.
Yeah.
Like, just talk about that.
Definitely. But the reason I bring this up is because a big part of the Last Kingdom, of course, is the idea of destiny. Yes. Of fate. Of course, at the end of every single intro, Uhtred says, destiny is all. And destiny is something which I actually find really interesting. I think it's an interesting concept, something which I actually like to believe in myself. And obviously something which I imagine is a big part of your job as well when it comes to predicting stuff, whether it's going to happen, all of that. And I thought that would be an interesting thing to look at today, essentially. So I guess I'd start off by sort of just asking your overall opinions on destiny. How do you think it works?
Well, for me, I think sometimes things are fated. So you've got a life plan, and then that is what you're supposed to follow. You don't know that, you're just doing it like subconsciously. You're just roaming around and stuff, and then on the side you'll get things coming in your way, like could you go off path. So sometimes you can go, I always think people that go off their path usually end up going back on it again. Okay. So you'll get like clients will come to me and be like, I think I've got off my path, and then I'll say, yeah, you have. But then 6 months ahead, you're back on path again. Yeah. You don't do this or that wrong. That's kind of what it means to me. Like I feel like everything is like sometimes fated or destiny. It's my destiny that I think it's my destiny that I'm a psychic. Right. Like I was always meant to do it. You don't realise it at the time. Yeah. Like even Uhtred. Like you probably thought, through the thing, he was like, don't know, this is gonna maybe this is my destiny, but actually his destiny was as the head of his realm and everything like that. And I just so that's why I always think you realise it sometimes at a point in your life, and he was kidnapped by the Vikings, and he thought that was his main destiny, and then it was actually, no, it's not my main destiny. I'm meant to go back and do what I was supposed to do. I won't give too much away if you haven't watched it or anything. Yeah. But,
definitely worth watching, by the way.
Yeah, I think that this was my destiny because I kept coming back to it all the time. Yeah. Like, I do different jobs all the time. It didn't work out, and I was like, am I going off path? It's like this, it's like that. Then when I did this full, like, part-time and then into full-time, I was like, that is my destiny. Like, even if something terrible happened tomorrow, I know I come back to this again and again and again, because that's what I'm meant to do. And I find that other people are like that as well with their destiny. Yeah. Even if you feel like, well, my destiny's boring, I was like, it's meant to be boring then. Like, that is, everyone's different. Sometimes when you come back into this world, you've got other lessons to learn or destinies to accomplish. Yeah.
So obviously when you do readings for people, I suppose that is almost looking at their destiny, at what's going to happen with them. Yeah. But obviously, like you were saying, people can go off path.
Yeah, they do.
So is that something that you can look at as well? Could you look to see if this person was going to follow their destiny, or if they were actually going to, go off and do their own thing?
Yeah. Also as well, spirit can change things.
Okay.
As well, like sometimes they'll have their destiny mapped out for them, and then spirit will like, nah, right. You get them sometimes come through, and I'll be like, not for you. I thought you could do it. And you can't do it. So they'll go off and up, but actually then they'll be on the right path. And then sometimes, they'll go fully off path and then they'll come back to their destiny again. And
right.
But yeah, it depends person to person, really. Everyone's different.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. I like that you say almost people could veer off to the point of actually creating almost a new destiny for themselves.
Yeah.
So another question which I sort of want to tie into this is when you do the readings, and let's say you picked, for example, on Instagram, I know you do bits where you pick 3 different cards, and you choose which one you have, and whatever you have, that's your prediction. So would you say you are destined to have whatever card you're going to pick anyway, or does the destiny come from the act of actually picking each card, if that makes sense?
It's already meant for you anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So people think they've got a choice, but they haven't got a choice. See, that's what I say to some clients. They're like, oh, I've got 2 choices. I don't know which one to pick. I'm like, I'll tell them which one it's going to be, but it's always fated that they will pick that one anyway. Yeah. So, and if they ever went off and picked the wrong one, either spirit are doing it because they're not ready for that one yet, or it's because they won't listen anyway. They're going off path. They'll go back to the other option at some point. It's fated. It's always meant to be, and it's always meant to happen. So
that's what I find so interesting about it, is the idea of not having free will, in a sense, not having the free will to actually decide what choices you want to make. You may think you do.
It's like trickery. So it's like you like my post the other day, so you've obviously picked a card and thought, I've picked that, I'm in control. I'm in control of my destiny, and I've picked that card. I'm like, no, you haven't. Spirit of God, your hand. Yeah, you're gonna pick that one. Like, that's what it's like. So yeah, like people think they've got free choice or free will, but it's actually being all like moved around for them, really. And that's why I always blame spirit for everything, because I'm like, why did you take me off that? Or why the hell did I write that before I was born? Why the hell did I pick that fate or that situation? But that's what it's supposed to be like on the earth plane. Like, you're supposed to be making mistakes sometimes or learning lessons to get to your destiny, because it's not supposed to be easy. The easy time is when you pass away. That's when you have a break and you don't have to strive for anything anymore. It's down here where it's all about destiny and fate and trying to reach it and the goal and what's going to happen.
So here's another interesting thing, because I know we've spoken about people veering off and doing their own thing, but do you think there is a way that people could perhaps do that and it actually benefit them rather than it being a negative? Because obviously you said people will always fall back into their destiny, but people's destiny can change. So if someone veered off enough that they changed their own destiny, is there a chance that people could do that for good rather than for bad?
Well, the good example of this is like some clients I get to come and see me, men or women, they will be this is relationship wise, they'll be in a relationship with someone, they'll think they're my soulmate, they're my destiny, they'll have children with them, then it'll all go wrong and they'll get a divorce, and then they're like, oh, that wasn't like my destiny. But I'm like, but you had to go off course to have your children.
Right.
Because you weren't meant to have your children with this other person. So you think, it's a disaster or whatever, but actually you've had to have your children with this person, then you're carrying on your path again after you've been off course, and then you reach your actual destiny. So that's what I always think with that. Like, sometimes you have to do certain things and go off course to either give you that lesson to go forward, or so you pick things up on the way, because sometimes you can't pick things up on the way by following one straight path. You have to go off course, sometimes like by having children or by marrying someone so you can have that house or live in that area to reach the ultimate goal. So that's what I always think of it as. So like, you could have lived in Scotland and then you come to Bridgewater to live, and and then your partner leaves you and you think, oh, I'm here now. But then you end up meeting your soulmate in that area, and you think, interesting. Oh, no, I get it now. Like, that's how it, like, that's why I've had to do all this and struggle so much to get to that point. And then, like, other times you'll think, why have I just been sacked from my job? Like, and it's like been a total disaster. And then all of a sudden, down the road they're offering you an opportunity, or that different department has offered you an opportunity. It's like, oh, because I'm in the right place, or because I've done that, even though it was a disaster, I've got that on my CV now, and I can move on to my destiny to do something I really want to do. So yeah, that's how I see it. Like sometimes bad things or going off course could actually be like pushing you towards what you're supposed to
and be a benefit for what you eventually go on to do.
And it gives you those skills as well. So I think it's fated. It's supposed to happen, like sometimes going off course. But yeah, it ultimately, destiny is all it's supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
destiny is all.
Uhtred's life wasn't easy. His life was like really quite terrible, really. But actually, in the end, if you see the end one, he's loving life. Yeah. He's living the dream. Yeah. But he had to do all those things to live the dream and then be in the right place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one more thing that I'll touch on, and we've already sort of touched on it, so I don't know how much we'll speak about this, but you've spoken about the idea of, a soulmate, someone that you are destined to be with. Is that something that you believe is out there for everyone?
Yes, and I think some people aren't allowed a soulmate.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you see a lot of people, they'll go from relationships like, oh my god, it's like all gone wrong, even into their like 80s, they'll be like, I've had 3 husbands and it's all gone wrong, and I'm like, yeah, it's not for you. That is not your life path. You are meant to either concentrate on work or family or yourself. That is not for you. You probably had your soulmate in your last life. It's not for this life. Then for other people, yes, they do have a soulmate, and I will say that I think you've got more of a long-term partner coming up from what you've had before. I usually say, get to about your 70s, and if it hasn't happened yet, then that isn't for you.
Yeah.
But before that time, it can be, for some people get so wrapped up in it though, and just I think sometimes as well, if you seek it too much, you will not get it. It's like spirit are kind of like, no, we're gonna hold you out, like hold off, and make your life more difficult. I always say go with the flow, and fate will happen if it's meant to happen.
I suppose that's the idea of fate in a weird way, isn't it? It's that if it's going to happen, it will happen.
Yeah.
You don't need to go out and seek it for yourself.
Yeah, and when you come for a reading and stuff, people say, I want the date, I want the month. And you can give around that time, and it is, to help you. It's sometimes, I think, readings to calm people down, because sometimes when people are lost and confused, it can cause chaos and make your path just go crazy. And I think it can just hone it down in a little bit and make it a little bit better. But I usually say with like soulmate stuff and that, I think it could happen around that time, but don't get upset if it doesn't. You are meant for someone, someone out there. Then other times I will be a bit like, I can't see anyone. Yeah. It's not going to happen, which can be difficult. Yeah. But, I think you can get soulmates in a different way though as well. You can get it with a friend. Yeah, for sure. So it doesn't always have to be like a romantic partner or a pet. You think that's my soulmate. That's the person that's got me through this life. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It's just someone to get you through this life that you've got things in common with and who you really like feel emotionally connected to. Yeah. So I do say it to people, and some women that come to see me hate that, because it's like, I want a man. I want, that's a soulmate for me. Yeah. So,
yeah, I've got another interesting thing which I thought I'd ask you about on the same sort of umbrella, I suppose. So we've spoken before about how people could use spirit, or psychics could use spirit to almost manipulate chance in their favour, right? So is that something that if they wanted to, psychics could manipulate spirit to change their own destiny?
Yes, kind of. It depends what it is. If it's within reason,
right?
So again, everything's fated for you. It just sometimes you can make things happen a teeny bit quicker. I always say that spirit kind of gather around you and have a little chat about you now and again, and are a bit like, okay, right, she's been really good at that. We'll let her have it a little bit quicker. Right, that's fine. So you can manipulate that energy to do that. If you're, I would say, powerful enough to do that. A lot of people can't do that, and they've just got to go with the flow and see what happens. But like for someone like me, sometimes I might be like, look, if I do this, we can do this. It's like bargaining with them. Like, I know it's fated and destiny for me, but can we like bring this in? Yeah. Or that in? And they'll be like, okay, yeah, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. We'll do that. So you can manipulate that a little bit. And then, other times they will not budge. Right. At all. Right. They will be like, no, not happening. you can wait. Or that will never happen for you. Like sometimes people are a bit kind of like the spirit, please, I love this person, bring them back to me. And they're like, they're an idiot. Not happening. You can cry about it all as much as you want, but it's not happening. Get that quite a lot. People like that will just plead with spirit or angels, or whatever, or with me, help me, like do something witchy to bring them in, or and I'm like, no, because they'll say no, so there's no point. So usually I say start off small, like, you know, I usually say, if you want a nice pair of shoes, right. They'll do that. They'll be like, okay, that's fine. That's not complicated for me. I can do that. But yeah, or like if you want to do bad stuff to anyone, like curses or jinxes, that isn't, it depends with spirit. Like sometimes they'll be like, yeah, they deserve that. Okay. Like they need to be punished for that. Not all that, not anything really bad. You know, it could be like, yeah, I'll give them a lesson. They deserve that lesson. That is, I'll put that on as part of their path. Yeah. So they'll do that sometimes.
Interesting.
As well, and you'll notice like certain things happen, and you'll think, okay, yeah, not been good. But yeah, you can, I would say, bargain with them sometimes. Right. Don't have to say it out loud or anything. Sometimes I write things, I manifest all the time. So I know like my life is fated and destiny, but I'd like sometimes to add a few bits and pieces. Cool. So I will write it down and put it away and say at the end, you know, obviously within reason, and thank you for helping me and all the rest of it, and then it will happen. And then some things won't happen. I'm like, oh, that's too big. Or I'm not ready for it yet. Or that'll be in 10 years' time. Not a year's time. So yeah, they do things like that a lot.
Interesting. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I do think destiny is such a cool concept because of the fact that it could be such like a good coping mechanism for people as well. Yeah. Like if people were to make bad decisions in their life, maybe things they regret, maybe something bad happens to them in their life. That's always something that you can look at and go, well, at the end of the day, it's just destiny. It was meant to be. Yeah. Rather than like cursing that it actually has happened and trying to find a way to fix it, you just kind of accept what's going on.
Yeah, and even it can be like terrible things that have happened to people, and you think, God, how was that destiny? But then that's the way in this world. That it has to happen sometimes. You know, again, we don't live in the spirit world where everything's rainbows and unicorns 24/7. It's hard. Life is hard. That's what you get like within, like I always say, like I'm more of a realistic psychic, a medium. Yeah. I'm not one of these like airy fairy type ones. Like I do say, look, it's your fate, it's your destiny. It is really hard. That it was terrible. Yeah. We're moving on to the next phase now of your path, which isn't so terrible. It's really, really nice now, and you're reaching your destiny, your goals, and things like that. So yeah, you have to take the bad with the good, you know.
And I suppose, like, you know, like you're saying there, some people will just get dealt a bad destiny, a bad hand.
Yeah, and that's the way. And like sometimes people are like, why have I outlived all these people and I'm the last one standing, and all these other people have like gone. And we always used to joke, like as a family, like our old like grandparents and stuff, said, you've just been too naughty. Like she says, it's always the older, all the ones that are lived to their 100 have done something really naughty in their life. That's why they've lived so long. That's why, and they haven't fulfilled their destiny yet because they've been too bad. It's not always the case. But yeah, like that's what I always think. You know, you still, you know, it's, you know, I believe in past lives and stuff like that, and I feel like sometimes you might have not have completed your destiny from your last life, so it's like I've got to do it more, or you might have been bad in your past life. Keep learning lessons in this life all the time, and that's what I always go back to. If anything, you know, happens where I think, oh, you know, why is that happening? You know, I just think, oh, okay, I've done something like this in my past life wrong, and I need to learn it again. And if I get it right, I'll get a tick in the box, and I can move on then. So yeah. So do you believe that once people have completed their destiny in whatever life they're in, do you believe that they're then not put through another life again? Or? They don't. Yeah, so you can come back again if you want to. Right. Or you can just stay over there and be like, no, I'll never come back here ever again. Like, I'm just going to chill on a cloud or whatever it is. Yeah. And just do that. I never want to come back. But then you get some spirits or like, you know, people, you can kind of read them a little bit. Like they've had a lot of lives, or they're not necessarily loads to learn, but it's just kind of like, this life I want to make a good life, even if there might be tricky things. I just want to make sure it's a good one, even though I've learned all my lessons, I've done my destiny. Want to like start it again, proper clean slate, but not a struggle, and then I'll go back and I won't need to come back ever again. So you might notice friends or family, you think, God, they've had an easy life, they're a trillionaire and never had any problems. And I think sometimes that's them just kind of having their calm period of a life, and then they go and then they'll never come back again. And then other people have a traumatic life, and you think you're coming back, you're coming back and you're gonna have like a nicer life next time, right. But yeah, probably not for a really long time after that though. Interesting. That's how it happens.